lucky can one guy be? I kissed her and she kissed me. Like the fella once said.
Thanks for hanging with us here on America Tonight. In our virtual green room, sitting there right now, is Florence and Romano. Easy for me to say. Romano, like the Ray Romano. She's probably related to Ray Romano. You can tell
I would be a whole lot funnier if I was.
Exactly. I think I was emceeing a program too late today. Okay, so Florence has an interesting thing that we're going to talk about here. And, you know, we can't help ourselves. We're like rubberneckers when we see the Gwen Stefani and Gavin, her husband Gavin's divorce, and saying that he cheated on her with the nanny. Then everybody rolls their eyes, even people who aren't invested in celebrities, and say, oh, didn't that happen with 5 different people? Everybody knows the stories.
Right.
And it makes you wonder. So Florence's book is called The Windy City Nanny. So what is the scoop on that, Florence, about, you know, I just have to say this. There was the stuff with, what's her name? Gosh, she's so cute. Jen Garner and Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck, yes.
Yeah, and there was conversation about that and their personal life, and that the nanny was cute and that he was off with the nanny as all that was breaking apart. So it seems like a lot of celebrity families are going through these breakups because the husband's cheating with the nanny. What's the deal with that?
You know, I'll tell you, the scandalosity factor revolving around celebrities, it feels, just like you're saying, that it's happening all the time in all these different families. And I'm here to tell you that regular families, this is not happening to them. You know, 60% of families in America have nannies. And, you know, in writing my book, Nanny and Me, I wanted to start a national conversation about childcare, whether that's a nanny or a babysitter, and what's going on in those homes. And the nanny, like Mindy and the Gwen and Gavin debacle, it's nannies like that are giving the rest of these wonderful nannies a bad name. And I try to push against that stereotype as much as I can, because most nannies that are hired to do the thing that they were hired to do, and that's to take care of the children, and that's their number one focus.
Yeah, so if somebody's hiring a nanny, as you said, this isn't the norm, what are the things that you look for?
One of my hard and steadfast rules regarding the nanny process at all is that of transparency. You need to get to know your nanny on a real level. What are his or her hobbies? What do they like to do in their spare time, passionate about? What are their principles? You know, this is the only time you can really have an interview like this. Corporate America, that's just not going to fly. But here, when you're interviewing the person that's going to take care of your most precious possessions, you can ask anything you want, really, in those interviews. And the more comfortable you are with the nanny, and the more interviews you have, I, for example, suggest a tiered process. That first interview, you and your spouse get together with the nanny, talk over a cup of coffee. Second interview, bring them into the home. Let them interact with the kids. My big secret is, after that prospective nanny leaves, talk to your children, see what they think. They have the best instincts, and you don't want to discount those.
Yeah, boy, that's good advice. Absolutely. So as you said, you wrote the book, Nanny and Me, and tell us a little bit more about that. Flesh that out for us.
I started nannying at the age of 11, and
wow.
Gosh, it sounds young, doesn't it? Who are those moms leaving me with their kids? But started as a mother's helper and went into a portion of adulthood, and I started looking at the children's book market, and I wanted to try to find something that helped children understand the transition from being cared for by their parents to being cared for by a nanny or a caretaker. And I was really disappointed not to find anything, and I thought, you know what? Based on my experience as a nanny, I would like to write that story, and so I did, and told the story from the perspective of the child, and now parents are using it as a tool to help during that transition.
You know, it's interesting, as you say, 11. Wow, that's amazing that you started at 11. So you definitely had a resume. I mean, you weren't 15 and you already had a resume, which is wild. You had a roadmap. You had a roadmap, Florence. There's no question. So do you think when parents hire a nanny, there should be some sort of dress code so you don't have, like, you see these hot, sexy nannies of the celebrities like we were just talking about. For goodness sake, wouldn't it be easy to say, can we just have regular jeans and a T-shirt, right?
Absolutely. I think just like any company, any employer, they can require a dress code, and the same can be said for a nanny, from a uniform to, certain types of street clothes. The thing to remember is it's not the best thing for you. It's the best thing for that family and those children. So if your principles don't line up, if you're not on the same page during the interview process, then that's not the family for you. That's not the nanny for you, and that's okay. But it's important to remember that.
Yeah, exactly. It's important to remember that. Those are the key words. So then there is the other part of it. We've seen the commercials or movies where they sort of feature this, and sometimes in a joking way, but it wouldn't be joking if it happened in real life. What if you are this girl or this young woman just doing your job, and then all of a sudden the father makes some kind of an advance on you?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say if either spouse makes an advance on you, in either case, the nanny should go directly to the other spouse and tell them immediately and then resign. I wouldn't even give it a trial period, to be honest with you. You need it to stop, because you think of it this way. If you don't put a stop to it in the very beginning, then you look guilty as well for having participated at all. And it also, something important to remember is, in a situation like that, where there has been an infidelity or something has happened, you're going to need to talk to your children about that. And just like in cases of divorce, you need to reassure your children that it was nothing they did wrong, that the nanny loved them, had fun with them. All of those things are true. You want to remember that it's still about the child. The focus is still on the child and how to make that as gentle a transition as possible, even if there's things happening personally that a child cannot understand and you don't want them to understand.
Yeah. You did the nanny thing for 15 years. It's about the kids, right? You love the kids when you do this.
Absolutely. It's all about the children. I say the pillars of being a nanny for me were based on trust, love, and joy. If you can remember those three things with your relationship with the children and your relationship with the parents, I think it's win-win.
I love that. So if somebody wants to get a copy of Nanny and Me, how do they do that?
They can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, or directly to my website, FlorenceAnnRomano.com, and they can get a copy there.
Florence Ann Romano, no relation to Ray Romano. you were a lot of fun. You're a Chicago girl. How could you be related to him? You're a Chicago girl, right?
I know. I am a Chicago girl here in the Windy City, and that wind is definitely moving and grooving today.
I love Chicago, but I know all about that wind. I've spent, the people think it's a joke, Florence, when you say that there's actually ropes sometimes on Michigan Avenue so you can hold on to them so you don't fall over. It's the truth. I thought it was a lie, but it's the truth.
True. My favorite is when they have the signs out that say caution falling ice. I'm like, well, if it's coming after me, it's kind of too late, isn't it? So I don't know what to do with that.
Oh, you're a delight. Don't be a stranger. We'll have you back on again. Thanks.
I would love it. What a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. So Florence, again, talking about the nanny thing, it's crazy. It is. It's crazy because even if you're not like one of those people, you're absorbing all these celeb magazines or whatever, you can't help it. You go to the checkout and that's all you see. And especially lately, there've been a whole bunch of those couples. All right, here on America Tonight, you know how we wildly talk about a whole bunch of different things, including coming up a conversation with Brandon Lang about what's up with Week 11 in the NFL. Let's go to Tomas, though, first in Michigan. Hello, Tomas.
Well, Kate, I was just doing a little studying here, and I've got some interesting numbers for you.
Oh, let's hear it.
The capital of Russia is Moscow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So what percentage would you think is the percentage of the Muslim population in Moscow?
I'll say 20%.
Exactly.
Mm.
That is that's bad. But
that is bad.
What do you think the percentage of the military is Muslim?
This I have no idea. I would think it'd be lower. Is it lower?
No, it's 40%.
Ah, say that number again. 40%. Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh, that's crazy.
You see, because immigration always involves the men first, because the men are hardier, and they get the jobs, then they bring in the women. But when the men show up, and many of them are military age, the recruiters, they just, the Irish, when they came over here, the army just grabbed them and put them into the cavalry, by the dozens. And so right there, you get to see why Russia now is in such a situation, because they can't go in there now and land troops because almost half their troops are Muslims. You see? And the same thing, matter of fact, I believe just because we're talking about this now, this is going to be the discussion now next week. Demographics with the immigration in the United States, demographics with immigration in Europe, with the European birth rate, just losing ground. All these things, this is a big driving force.
No kidding.
And look at Saudi Arabia, half their country is servants and immigrants from other countries who have no loyalty to the Saudi family. So I just wanted to share those numbers with you, Kate, because
those numbers are crazy.
Crazy. Not many people know them.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that, Tomas. As always, fabulous call, because we're talking about that. We're talking about, you can't deny what's actually happening. So 20% is pretty big, but I definitely didn't know that 40%. That really does tell you something. Coming up next, Brandon Lang, Week 11 in the NFL. Stay with us.